Welcome to the Get a Life podcast. Explore survivor stories. Uncover the hidden truths. Join our X-Cult conversations. You matter, and so does your story.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Get a Life podcast. I'm Cheryl Hope, and today with me is Richard Marsh. Sensitive viewers should take care today as we will be discussing sexual abuse. I was abused and trafficked as a child inside the exclusive Brethren, now known as the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church. I came forward with my abuse in 2022 because I know the truth does not rot with time and because the PBCC were counting on me being silent my entire life. I spent decades carrying what was done to me while the people responsible carried reputations, positions, and protection. When I finally spoke out, I didn't gain power. I lost safety. I lost family. I lost privacy. And now, rather than showing compassion, the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church charity, the Rapid Relief Team, has decided to attack me. The PBCC charity, RT Australia, which claims to be led by Christian principles of care and compassion, thinks it has found a way to silence me. I will lay out exactly why they did this, and at the end, you can decide whether this is a charity you want to support or to abandon. You can judge for yourselves whether this sounds like care and compassion in action, or whether it sounds like thugs trying to hide the truth by intimidating a whistleblower. They think they're making me pay a price for exposing their deceit. What they don't realize is that the little girl they created, through all the abuse I endured, grew into someone with resilience, tenacity, a strong will, and a refusal to let any abuse victim be silenced. I spent 30 years in a cave, too traumatized to speak about my past. When you grow up in the Plymouth Brethren Church, you aren't a person. You're an object for them to use. A toy to play with. For me, I was a toy that was owned by Brethren Elder Ellen Drever. He had a toolbox. He told me he used it to fix little girls. He'd made me believe that every time he hurt me, I was helping my father. It wasn't just him. He took me to mobile homes, to truckers, to people who used me while I sat there incapacitated. I've had 30 years of therapy just to be able to say his name out loud without shaking. And the crazy thing about this, I am not the only one inside the PBCC this has happened to. Repeated surveys have shown that almost 1/3 of ex-PBCC members have experienced child sexual abuse in the cult. I didn't bring out my story to make enemies. I did it because I couldn't live with children in my family being left unprotected. I came forward because their system protects pedophiles and shames and silences the children who cry out for help. We're now going to walk you through the timeline of events, along with audio of my perpetrator that was recently obtained.
So the timeline starts in May 2022. Cheryl breaks 30 years of silence and spends 9 hours over 2 days with the RCMP, the Canadian police, going over the horrific details of her abuse. The police immediately start an investigation, which is ongoing. In July 2022, Cheryl then goes public on the Blackballed podcast, naming Alan Drever as her abuser and detailing a history of child sexual abuse and trafficking within the Maple Creek PBCC community. Here is a clip from that first deeply emotional podcast.
Sleeper. I remember the sleeper I had, and it just snowballed from there. There's just one thing after another. To give you kind of context, I mean, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to get into this today, just because I had to do it for 4 hours earlier today. He had a toolbox, and he had a toolbox that he used to fix children. He had used little girls. It was his job to fix little girls. And he made me believe that through and through that I need to be fixed in any kind of way. If I cried, I had to be fixed. If I had a stomachache, I had to be fixed. If I showed any kind of anything that a little child would show, I had to be fixed, and the toolbox came out. He didn't just stop there. He took me to other places. He took me to other people. Oh, it's so hard to talk about.
Yeah.
It's he just.
Go ahead.
It's just he's a very sick man. He's a very sick man. It's not your normal. I mean, I guess I don't know what a normal sexual abuse case is, but he was a very sick man, and he made me believe that everything I did, I was doing to help my father. And he grilled that into me that I needed to help my dad, and that anything that I was doing like this, I was helping my dad. And so as a little girl, I believed that. I'll give you an example.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, go ahead.
I was just like, one of the things he did in his toolbox was he had candy in there, and if things hurt me, I had to eat a Smartie. That was one of the biggest things that he had started with. He would dip his tongue in his alcohol drinks and make me suck it off. He syringed me things that made me sleepy. He would ask me if I was sleepy yet. And like, he held no, I can talk from a 47-year-old now. He held no concept of an emotional attachment to somebody, right? I felt just owned by him. To me, I was his. He came home one day, he was frustrated, and he threw his wife's bra on me and told me one day I would feel it out, and that he had to get me ready for a husband. And literally sat there and he raped me, and then turned around and just left me. He took me to this, what I know now it was a mobile home. And these men came there, and they offered me a candy that looked kind of like a piece of sugar. And I took it. It made my mouth immediately dry. And I just remember that I couldn't swallow properly. And then I started, I couldn't swallow my own saliva. It was hard. It's hard. A lot of this stuff is it's hard to put into context, into words, how confused I was with having men enjoy you at the same time that you're incapacitated. And that as a little girl, I had no fucking clue how to help myself. I couldn't do it. This time that he brought these just 3 men over, I was in one of the bedrooms, and the first guy sat there and literally stimulated me for what seemed like hours, literally hours. That's all he did. Someone knocked on the door and told him to hurry up. The thing that I remembered about this one specific gentleman that has always stood in my mind is his smell. So he had just this most awful smell to him. And for me, I couldn't place the smell. And I was trying to place the smell. Was this horse manure? Was this horse poo? Was it pig poo? Was it cow poo? I was trying to think, what is this smell? And later on, I was taken out to the couch out there, and I was propped up against Ellen while I was kind of coming to. And I saw him smoking, which is, I had never seen him smoke before. And I realized what he was smoking was the same smell that this guy smelled like. And I mean, I know now at my age that smell was pot, right? But back then I had never been introduced to anything like that. And it was literally that smell that just burns into my memory of what that room entailed. It switched to
it switched to a lady driving me around, and it was a vehicle that was like this burnt orange vehicle with a cream top. And she was really the lady who taught me the rules. She was very, very firm with the rules of no crying. You don't question. The no crying was like very, 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 very huge. It was over and over and over. And again, she really put in there the importance of doing this for my dad and the amount of people that I was helping out by doing this. The thing that I remember with her is she must have put a bottle of perfume on every time before she got into that vehicle. It hurt my throat. It hurt my nose. It was, to this day, I cannot wear perfume. Like anything fragrance, I cannot. It's perfume just does me in. But her perfume was horrible. And she took me to different places. One of the places she took me to was another mobile home, and this was in Maple Creek. It was a bluey green mobile home. I had to wear a backpack, and I was on the way, she had kind of prepped me with about being brave, that I had to go into this place by myself, and that I needed to be brave. You can be brave, right? The brave was her biggest word that she used on this one occasion. And normally she didn't get out and stand by the car and watch me walk in. Normally people came out and met me and took me. This one, I had to walk in by myself. And this mobile home, I remember walking by, and it had really tall grass. I remember it like rubbing against my leg. There was a pedal bike that was kind of leaned over to the side. I walked up these stairs and kind of went to the right a little bit and then to the doorway. And I was met by two men, two very kind of heavyset men. And it was a different one in there. It was very different there. They kind of they took the backpack. They made me sit on the couch, and I had to sit a certain way. My underwear had to come off.
In October 2022, Cheryl, along with a team of other ex-PBCC members, launched the Get a Life podcast as a platform for survivors of the PBCC to tell their stories. Get a Life has thrived with over 150 episodes and is a prime source for journalists reporting on the PBCC's activities. The podcast opened the floodgates as, for the first time, a safe and supportive space was opened up where PBCC survivors could speak freely and unburden themselves of the pent-up grief and trauma that the cult inflicts on leavers. In November 2022, top Canadian investigative media channel Canadaland reported on an active RCMP investigation into PBCC members in Saskatchewan regarding these allegations of child sexual abuse within the Brethren community. Here's a quote from that article. Plymouth Brethren Christian Church members under RCMP investigation for alleged sexual abuse in Saskatchewan. Former members call the controversial sect a cult. A reclusive religious sect which has faced controversy abroad is now being investigated by RCMP for allegations of historical sexual abuse in Saskatchewan. Several Canadian former members of the church have come forward about the church's cult-like rules, even alleging that the church has surveilled them after they left. One former member, Cheryl Hope, that's Cheryl Bortenheimer, filed a police report alleging years of sexual abuse during her childhood in the Maple Creek Brethren community. In an interview with Canadaland, she characterized the years of alleged abuse as human trafficking. A spokesperson for the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church, Merrick Grimshaw, denied any knowledge of the alleged sexual abuse or of the ongoing police investigation.
In 2023, someone from Maple Creek sent me photos of Ellen. There he was, wearing the Rapid Relief Team hat and shirt. Remember, their tagline is care and compassion for all. But here Ellen was handing out water bottles, acting like a pillar of the community, while I was still picking up the pieces of my life. I knew this was a blatant message to me that the Brethren were going to protect him like they always have. My husband, Curtis, finally decided that he should speak to Ellen Drever in person. He drove to Maple Creek and knocked on Ellen's door in September of 2025. He confronted him, and Ellen practically confessed his guilt, saying, "Tell Cheryl I'm sorry." Here's the recording of that conversation between my husband Curtis and Ellen Drever on the doorstep of his house.
Going to the front door. Ringing doorbell. Waiting for somebody to come to the door. Hi.
Hey, sir.
Ellen?
Yep.
How you doing today?
Good, yourself?
Not too bad. Hey, you got a couple minutes? My name's Curtis Bottenheimer. Bottenheimer?
Okay.
So I'm Cheryl Hope's husband. Yeah, I think it's time you get right. Well, we have witnesses. Plus, there's other people in town that have commented on the inappropriate touching you've done. I think it's time you need to get right. Don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just need to admit to it. There's a lot of people that say you have, and there's a lot of people that say you've done other stuff to other people in this town. Right?
Well,
Huh?
could be possible.
You did do stuff to other people in this town?
Probably.
Yeah. Like, even your son is in court tomorrow, am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, for doing what?
Well, he's accused of
Sex.
touching a girl.
Yeah, the same thing you've been accused of. Right?
Yeah.
So do you think you should get right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what are you going to do to get right?
I guess I have to admit that I did it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, like, you've traumatized Cheryl. Like, the trauma she's been through. I've been married to her for over 30 years. I've seen her break down. I've seen her cry. I've seen her try to commit suicide.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. What you done to her as a child shouldn't be done to anybody.
Okay.
So you need to get right. The police are in town tomorrow for your son's court case,
Okay.
and you need to get right.
Okay.
Will you do that? Because
Yeah.
I've got you. I'm your witness saying you're going to get right and you're going to own up to what you've done.
Okay.
Do you want to sit down and talk about what you've done?
No.
No?
No.
And I've had witnesses, and plus we have witnesses that you've done inappropriate touching to other girls in this town.
No.
Yeah, but you need to get right in order for you to go to heaven.
Yeah, oh, sure. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Because if you don't get right, you're not going to go to heaven where you belong.
Right.
You don't need to go to jail. You just need to get help for what your addiction of young women is for.
I'm sorry.
You don't have to say sorry to me. You need to say sorry to all these other women and get right with what you've done.
Okay. I'll tell Cheryl I'm sorry. Yeah.
You say you want to get right. Heaven's going to know if you get right. Because if you don't get right, you're not going where you need to go.
Probably.
Right? So you need to get right with yourself, get right with the Lord,
Okay.
and get right with all these girls that you've harmed over all these years. You're not upset about what you've done?
No.
Why aren't you?
Sir, I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
With that evidence in hand, we thought finally someone will listen. We wrote to the Brethren priests of Maple Creek and to Bruce Hales himself, the global leader, the Brethren's elect vessel. On November 12th, 2025, we asked for accountability and asked for the church to take responsibility for what I endured. Here's an extract from that email. I'm appealing to you directly to take up your responsibilities in this matter, to ensure that Ellen receives the intervention and accountability he needs, to protect the children and women in Maple Creek, and to ensure that those who have been harmed by him receive the justice they deserve. We trust you will treat this with the seriousness it requires. Curtis and Cheryl Bottenheimer. In total, Bruce and his sons received 5 emails from us. asking for accountability and responsibility for what had happened. They never responded. Not a single word from the so-called man of God. But I did get an answer. It didn't come in a letter. It came as a lawsuit filed by the Rapid Relief Team. A lawsuit that attacked me personally, attacked the Get a Life podcast, and in doing so, attacked every PBCC survivor who has ever spoken out on that platform.
The Plymouth Brethren Christian Church has a sad history of trying to silence child sexual abuse survivors, and one very recent one stands out. Just 6 months ago, Mick Dover, a 65-year-old former PBCC member from Melbourne, Australia, went public with his own horrific child sex abuse story on ABC News. Here is a short clip from that interview.
On a non-disclosure agreement, which abuse lawyers tell Four Corners rarely happens since the Child Abuse Royal Commission.
What do you think it says about the Brethren that they were willing to pay you $1 million only on the condition that you be silent about your abuse?
It says they're disgusting. They've got no morals. I'm here today because I don't give a damn about $1 million. They've taken something I can't take back. Can't relive my life.
The church said in a statement it denied the abuse, but it couldn't comment further. It also sent a legal threat to Mick's lawyers, alleging he had committed a crime by speaking out. Mick is determined not to be silenced by the church he says stole his childhood.
Today, I'm here for one purpose, and that is to expose the cover-up.
Abuse survivor Mick Dover ending Louise Milligan's report. And if this story's raised concerns for you or anyone you know, you can call Lifeline on 13 11 14. And you can see the investigation tonight, 8:30 on ABC TV or on ABC's iView.
If you want to see how far they will go to hide sexual abuse, look at the work of Michael Bachelard. He has investigated this church for 18 years. When he began writing about the church's cover-up of child sexual abuse, the response was terrifying. One morning, Bachelard opened a parcel mailed to his office. Inside was a small blonde doll. Its head had been ripped from its shoulders. It came with a note naming a survivor of sexual abuse that he had written about. The note simply said, "Better not." It was a blatant death threat intended to stop a sexual abuse victim from going public through Bachelard's journalism. They don't just use threats, they use cash. A senior church elder, Lloyd Merrick Grimshaw, who also served as the RRT spokesman, signed an agreement to pay former church spokesman Tony McCorkle $920,000 to keep his mouth shut. The deal was arranged by Dean Hales, son of the elect vessel Bruce D. Hales. The effect of that agreement was to gag a potential witness in a child sexual abuse case.
Last summer on the Get a Life podcast, we did some episodes about the Rapid Relief Team. In those videos, we reproduced some RRT social media posts that included their kookaburra mascot, which they refer to as their cookie bird. In December 2025, the Australian office of the Rapid Relief Team started hitting our YouTube channel with copyright strikes. They claimed that by showing their cookie bird on our podcast, we were reaping the creative benefits and value associated with their copyrighted work.
Let's be clear about what's happening here. This is a classic SLAP suit, SLAPP, a strategic lawsuit against public participation. These are meritless lawsuits designed to censor, intimidate, and silence critics by bleeding them dry with legal costs. Let's take a quick look at the law around copyright in this context. Despite the cookie bird being copyright, the law does permit reproducing the RRT social media posts in specific circumstances. These exceptions are known as fair use. 1. The law permits use of copyrighted material for criticism and commentary. Copyright law does not give an organisation the right to stop others from showing its own public statements or images when those materials are being examined or criticised. 2. The posts are being used for a different purpose than they were created for. RRT published the posts to promote itself. They're reproduced on Get Alive so the public can understand, evaluate and question what RRT chose to communicate. Using the material in this way is a recognised and lawful use. 3. Logos, mascots and branded images are public-facing symbols. They're designed to be seen and understood by the public as an identity. The law recognises that the public must be able to reproduce these symbols when discussing or analysing an organisation's conduct or messaging, as it has to be clearly identified. 4. Showing the full post serves accuracy and transparency. Where the criticism concerns the content, imagery or message of a social media post itself, reproducing it in full allows the readers to see exactly what is being discussed and prevents misrepresentation. 5. There is no financial harm or misuse of RRT's content. The reproduced posts are not being used to make money from RRT's work, to sell anything, or to compete with RRT in any commercial way. They're not being used to pretend to be RRT, to pass off content as RRT's, or to substitute for RRT's own communications. Showing the post for criticism does not interfere with any legitimate economic interest protected by copyright. In conclusion, under settled copyright principles, reproducing RRT's public social media posts for the purpose of criticism is lawful. Any lawsuit claiming infringement based on this kind of use has no realistic prospect of success and would function only as an attempt to intimidate or harass critics rather than to protect copyright.
When these videos started getting copyright strikes, I immediately responded to YouTube stating that there was no breach of copyright, as this was a crystal clear case of fair use, a universal legal provision where the logo and symbols of a corporation can be reproduced for the purposes of identifying and criticizing them. 2 weeks later, YouTube restored these videos. But the PBCC has endless money. In January of 2026, the RRT filed a full-blown lawsuit against me in California, forcing YouTube to take the videos offline again until the legal case is settled. They're suing a survivor of a decade of abuse for using a picture of a cartoon bird. They're using charitably donated funds to sue me, who was abused and trafficked by one of their own volunteers.
Rapid Relief Team tells its donors that 100% of donations go to helping the poor, victims of natural disasters, and the vulnerable. Instead, tens of thousands of dollars in charitable donations are being diverted to fund a meritless lawsuit against a sexual abuse survivor. Your donations aren't buying food boxes for the homeless, they're buying high-priced lawyers to harass and victimize a woman who was raped by an RRT volunteer.
They preach care and compassion on their website, but when it comes to children who have been brutally abused and traumatized by their own volunteers and fellow church members, their only response is to start a legal war. They want me to be afraid. They want me to be intimidated. They want me to bow to their big shot lawyers and bottomless wallets. I am not backing down. Every time they attack me, they just make me want to fight even harder for the victims of their heartless doctrines, their fake spirituality, and the systemic sexual abuse of children that hides behind it.
To make sure we haven't lost the thread, let's look at the cold hard facts one more time. Follow the trail. 2022. Cheryl does a 9-hour, 2-day police report triggering an ongoing investigation. Cheryl goes public on the Blackball podcast, naming Alan Drever as her abuser. Along with other survivors, she starts the Get a Life podcast, to give a voice to the victims of the PBCC. May 2023. While Cheryl is speaking out, Alan Drever is photographed in a high-visibility RRT uniform, volunteering for the Rapid Relief Team in Maple Creek. September 2025. Cheryl's husband confronts Alan Drever. On tape, the man Cheryl accused of decade-long abuse says, "Tell Cheryl I'm sorry." November 2025. Cheryl writes directly to global leader Bruce Hales asking for accountability. December 2025. The answer arrives, not from Hales, but from the RRT's lawyers. They begin filing meritless copyright strikes against Get a Life's YouTube channel. January 2026. When the copyright strikes fail, the Rapid Relief Team, a registered charity, files a massive lawsuit in California against an abuse survivor over a picture of a cartoon bird.
They didn't sue the man who confessed to hurting me. They didn't remove him from their charity. They waited until I asked for accountability, and then they used your donations to try and sue me into silence and poverty.
This is a slap suit, plain and simple. It's not about a logo. It's about a church using care and compassion as a tax exemption shield while using the legal system as a flamethrower on innocent people.
My name is Cheryl. I am not a toy for their use anymore, and I am not going back into the silence.
The PBCC's blundering attempts at damage limitation and reputation management often end in disaster. They seem to be incapable of learning from their mistakes. The PBCC and RRT public relations team should be aware of the keen interest of a number of journalists in the current attack by the Rapid Relief Team on Cheryl. Let's take a look at some of the shocking headlines that may result if they press on with their devious legal harassment campaign.
RRT suing child abuse survivor who accused charity volunteer of pedophilia. Toxic charity, why emergency servicers are being urged to run from the RRT. Shame on you, the Christian charity attacking a rape victim with donors' cash. The Brethren's Legal Slush Fund, gagging survivors in the name of copyright. Diverted donations, how RRT funds are being used to wage a legal war on whistleblowers. Preaching compassion, practicing cruelty. Global sect sues abuse whistleblower over a cartoon bird. Sickening, church charity diverts care funds to bully rape victim into silence.
Now I'm going to read through the text of the lawsuit that's been filed in California, just so you can understand how contrived and extreme this document really is. We'll paste the whole document below, but I'll read out a few extracts. It starts with United States District Court for the Northern District of California. Rapid Relief Team, RRT Limited Plaintiff v. Cheryl Bortenheimer, Defendant. Jury trial demanded. Then we have preliminary statement. Plaintiff brings this action seeking injunctive and monetary relief for the defendant's intentional infringement of the plaintiff's copyright in plaintiff's copyrighted stylized bird logo known as the RRT cookie bird, open brackets, the copyrighted work, close brackets. Founded in 2013 in Sydney, Australia by the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church, Plaintiff RRT is a global charitable relief organisation offering compassionate support to communities impacted by natural disasters and humanitarian crises. Further down the page, defendants' infringing conduct. On information and belief, defendant is engaged in the creation and production of the Get a Life podcast channel on YouTube. On information and belief, defendant has, without plaintiff's authorization, consent, or knowledge, and without any compensation to plaintiff, reproduced the copyrighted work in multiple videos on the Get Alive podcast channel, open brackets, the infringing videos, close brackets. The video on the Get Alive podcast channel, entitled Lindy Expresses Her Concern Regarding the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church's RRT charity, reproduces the copyrighted work as shown below. The video on the Get Alive podcast channel, entitled Rapid Relief Team, Hypocrisy and Families Divided at Christmas, reproduces the copyrighted work as shown below. Then we have, on information and belief, defendant's identical use and exploitation of the copyrighted work was willful and in disregard of, and with indifference to, the rights of plaintiff. On further information and belief, defendant's intentional infringing conduct was undertaken to reap the creative benefit and value associated with the copyrighted work. By failing to obtain plaintiff's authorization to use the copyrighted work or to compensate plaintiff for use, defendant has avoided payment of license fees and other financial costs associated with obtaining permission to exploit the copyrighted work, as well as the restrictions that plaintiff is entitled to and would place on any such exploitation as conditions for plaintiff's permission, including the right to deny permission altogether. As a result of defendant's actions described above, plaintiff has been directly damaged and is continuing to be damaged by the unauthorized reproduction and public display of the copyrighted work. Defendant has never accounted to or otherwise paid plaintiff for its use of the copyrighted work. Defendant's acts are causing, and unless restrained, will continue to cause damage and immediate, irreparable harm to plaintiff, for which plaintiff has no adequate remedy at law. Before we all break down weeping for the poor exploited Rapid Relief Team, let's just remember this is not about a multi-million-dollar tax evasion scheme like the UBT is embroiled in, nor is it about a scheme for ripping off the UK government with $1 billion of faulty PPE like the Hales boys are mixed up with. No, this is much more serious. This is about the RRT's childish cartoon Cookie Bird mascot making a 5-second appearance on a YouTube video perfectly legally. But if you think the legal indignation is a bit over the top, wait till you hear the next section. Gets even better. Wherefore, plaintiff requests judgment against defendant as follows. 1. That defendant has violated Section 501 of the Copyright Act 17 U.S.C. 501. 2. Granting an injunction temporarily, preliminarily, and permanently enjoining the defendant, its employees, agents, officers, directors, attorneys, successors, affiliates, subsidiaries, and assigns, and all of those in active concert and participation with any of the foregoing persons and entities who receive actual notice of the court's order by personal service or otherwise from A. Displaying, using, or authorizing any third party to display or use the copyrighted work, and any products, works, and other materials that include copy are derived from or otherwise embody the copyrighted work, including without limitation any dissemination, promotion, use, or display of the infringing videos or other videos that feature the copyrighted work, and B. aiding, assisting, or abetting any other individual or entity in doing any act prohibited by subparagraph A. 3. That defendant be ordered to provide an accounting of the defendant's profits. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
I know.
Attributable to the defendant's infringing conduct, including defendant's profits from sales and any other exploitation of the copyrighted work, and any products, works, or other materials that include the copyrighted work. 4. That defendant be ordered to destroy or deliver up for destruction all materials in the defendant's possession custody, or control used by the defendant in connection with the defendant's infringing conduct, including without limitation any products and works that include any reproduction or other copy or colorable imitation of the copyrighted work. 5, that defendant at its own expense be ordered to recall the infringing videos and any other videos or other works that include the copyrighted work from any video platforms, social media platforms, website hosts, or other entities or individuals who may have distributed videos that include the copyrighted work, including but not limited to the infringing videos, on defendant's behalf, and that defendant be ordered to destroy or deliver up for destruction all materials returned to it. 6, awarding plaintiff's defendant's profits obtained as a result of the defendant's infringing conduct, including but not limited to all profits from sales and other exploitation of the infringing videos and any products, works, or other materials that include the copyrighted work, or, in the court's discretion, such amount as the court finds to be just and proper, and damages sustained by the plaintiff as a result of the defendant's infringing conduct in an amount to be proven at trial. 7, awarding plaintiff interest, including pre-judgment and post-judgment interest on the foregoing sums, and 8, awarding such other and further relief as the court deems just and proper. Wow, what a ridiculous crock of shit. And it's all just empty words because it's crystal clear that no copyright was infringed by Get a Life's fair use publication of the Rapid Relief Team's hypocritical social media posts. And it's obvious that Get a Life isn't making any money out of the Rapid Relief Team's corny Cookie Bird cartoon. The whole case is self-evidently false, and no judge would grant them any of the outrageous injunctions that they are asking for. What then is the purpose of this case, on which the charity Rapid Relief Team have already spent an estimated $30,000 with the meter still ticking? The case has been taken for one reason only: to frighten, harass, and discourage Cheryl from speaking out about her abuse at the hands of an RRT volunteer, and to silence the voices of all the former PBCC members who have spoken out so powerfully on the Get a Life podcast.
In our next section of the podcast, we have a couple of special guests who feel very strongly about what is going on. First, we have Steve Simmons, who is another ex-member of the PBCC, and he has a heartfelt message, especially for the current members of the PBCC.
Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Simmons, speaking from Auckland. I want to speak directly to members of the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church, especially those who are supposed to be taking a lead in upholding a standard of righteousness. The claim in the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church is that sexual abuse matters are taken very seriously and are reported to the authorities. But the facts simply do not bear this out. In this message, I'm focusing on one case only, but there are thousands of similar ones, just as serious, which are being covered. About 50 years ago, a little girl, just 3 years old, was placed in the care of a couple after her father had an accident. What followed was a decade of sexual and spiritual abuse. Her family, already under immense pressure from local leaders, were themselves living in fear. By the time she reached 16, she simply couldn't take any more. She left home. No one checked on her. No one followed her up. She was later withdrawn from without a single pastoral visit. For more than 40 years, she's lived with the consequences. Anyone who's survived childhood sexual abuse knows the lifelong impact, the flashbacks, the anxiety, the struggle to trust, the enormous emotional and financial cost of therapy. She spent thousands of hours and tens of thousands of dollars trying to rebuild a life that was shattered before it even began. About 3 years ago, she found the courage to speak out publicly. She told people in her locality. She told her family. She told the church leadership. And a couple of months ago, she reached out to more than 24 senior members of the PBCC across North America and Australia, begging for acknowledgement, accountability, and action. I also wrote to them, trying to appeal to their consciences. Not one of those contacted has responded. The woman I'm speaking about is Cheryl Hope, now Cheryl Portenheimer. Many of you will know from the Get a Life podcasts, in which she exposes her own experiences and those of others with wider patterns of emotional, financial, and spiritual harm. So far, those with authority have not apologised, they haven't offered support, they haven't initiated an independent investigation. No one's reached out to Cheryl. Instead, they're spending huge sums with a reputational management company aimed at removing the public discussion of these issues. Just pause on that for a moment. A church, a community that claims to follow Christ, is spending large sums of money managing the public perception rather than simply providing care for a survivor. That should trouble every single member. So my message to those in leadership is simple. Accountability is not optional. Every faith tradition teaches that those in authority will one day answer for how they've treated the vulnerable. And every person with a spark of humanity, regardless of their faith, condemns the sexual abuse of young children. No amount of money, influence, or institutional loyalty can substitute for compassion, integrity, and justice. The tagline of your public-facing organisation, the Rapid Relief Team, is compassion in action. So how can you justify showing compassion to those outside the church while persecuting abuse survivors who've been forced out of the church and are now speaking out? And my message to ordinary members is this: your voice matters. Many of you give generously, believing that your contributions support ministry and care. You deserve to know whether those funds are being used to silence a survivor instead of supporting her. Ask questions, seek transparency. Do not assume that silence equals righteousness. This is not an attack on the church. This is a call to protect the vulnerable, to honour truth, and to ensure that no one else suffers in silence. Abuse thrives in secrecy. It ends when ordinary people refuse to look away. And so I urge you, be courageous. Ask your leaders whether they believe in confronting wrongdoing or covering it. Ask whether compassion is being shown to Cheryl. Ask whether justice is being pursued. This moment matters. Your response matters. May God give you the courage and wisdom to do what's right.
Now I want to introduce Anke Richter. Anke is from New Zealand and has worked closely with Lindy Simmons and many other activists. Anke was outraged when she heard of the RRT's legal attack, and she has recorded a statement on her own feelings and views on the matter. Here is her message.
Hi, I'm Anke Richter. I'm an international journalist in New Zealand and wrote the bestseller Cult Trip. And I run Decult, a small organization trying to reduce the harm caused by high-demand groups. Let's talk about scare tactics from cults. Before we held our first cult awareness conference in 2024, there was fear in the lead up to talk about the exclusive brethren at the event because they're so litigious. In the end, we had a powerful session with my colleague Craig Hoyle, who wrote his book Excommunicated about the PBCC. It was safe for him to talk about his horrific experiences as a gay man inside the church because our shared publisher and their lawyer had his back. Most cult survivors don't have a book out or that level of professional support behind them. And still, they bravely put themselves out there on their own platforms to help others. It takes courage, resilience, and funds that most of them don't have. They often struggle with shame and stigma from sharing their story. They lose their privacy and make themselves vulnerable. They get aggressive pushback from loyal cult members, and they are constantly at risk to trigger their own trauma. It's a heavy load to carry that takes so much emotional energy. I don't think many out there listening to these courageous voices realize the toll it takes and the hours of therapy, even without legal threats. That's why I'm absolutely appalled that some coercive religious groups get out their big legal guns against activists that speak their truth. It's another way of silencing survivors, and it's brutal because it crushes people who are already struggling to just get on with their lives. It's even more disgusting if this comes from a charity, which is basically the PR front of a cult. We need to speak about these organizations in our midst, their businesses, their tax breaks, and their lawsuits. I will not shut up about them. To all those podcasters, YouTubers, TikTokers, and public speakers who are being bullied and threatened by a mighty entity they've managed to leave. Kia kaha, as we say here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Stand tall and strong. DCALT stands with you.
Here is my message to those current members of the PBCC who still believe that Bruce Hales is the infallible man of God and that the RRT is a genuine and heartfelt charity. Stop listening to their words and start looking at their actions. This is not about me. This is about accountability, and it's about protecting children. The Rapid Relief Team claims to stand for care and compassion, but the moment that claim was tested, it collapsed. When a survivor reached out and asked for help, I was first met with silence, and then I was met with a lawsuit. It was a trumped-up case built on blatant lies designed to silence me. RRT accepts public money and claims charitable status. With that comes a responsibility to any organization, hospital, fire brigade, or police force who partners with the RRT. Time to cut ties and walk away. No, don't walk. Run. Like Jeffrey Epstein, the RRT is toxic. When all the abuse comes out, you want to be as far away as you can. To all those PBCC members who fund, defend, or stay silent about the RRT's abuse of power, your money has enabled this, and your silence has protected it. Shame on you. And to all those PBCC members who have seen through the smoke and mirrors and are looking for a way out, and to all our viewers and listeners who have already experienced freedom, much love to you all. Since I received these legal papers, 5 more videos have been taken down due to their claim of copyright strike. All these videos are to do with Rapid Relief Team. And I want to just leave you with the 2 videos that have a lawsuit against them. And I want you to listen to the heartfelt plea of these 2 survivors just asking for help. It was never about the bird.
Kia ora and hello, my name is Lindy Jacob and I'm a former member of the Exclusive Brethren, or the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church as they are now known. I'm also part of the Olive Leaf Network, a charitable entity that supports former members of high demand religious groups. People might wonder why former members like myself can find it's so upsetting to see the Rapid Relief Team's activities and particularly their branding and promotional material. The reason why is that so much of what the Rapid Relief Team say that their values and activities are just seems to be in such direct contradiction to what we have experienced by very similar activities and beliefs of the church. For example, when I click on the Rapid Relief Team's website, I see that a core tagline is compassion in action, and that their core values are community, compassion, and support. But I know, as somebody who has experienced the profound trauma of being excommunicated from this church and the ongoing separation from family and community in there that I have experienced over the last decade, is in direct opposition to this. I know that the Brethren's core charter, as they term it, is a phrase called separation from evil. This core doctrine means that they believe that anybody outside of their community is evil and that they must live a life of separation from them. This includes very severe separation from family members or friends who leave their community, like myself. The other kinds of language that I notice on their website are things like where they state that they support charitable organisations and that they give care and compassion to people in crisis. This is hard for me to read. Olive Leaf Network, who I am a part of, is a charitable organisation. We have reached out a couple of years ago with an open letter to the Rapid Relief Team asking them to collaborate and provide support with us for former members of high demand religious groups, including former members from their very own organisation. We have heard nothing back from them. I would like to say to the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church and to the Rapid Relief Team, how is it that you can give out branded bottled water and soap to strangers, and yet we, former members from your church community, are left branded with trauma? What are you going to do about us? I'm asking you, Rapid Relief Team, Plymouth Brethren Christian Church, put your money where your mouth is. Contact the Olive Leaf Network today and help us in the difference we are already making to people who need emergency relief, who need support in crisis, who need to see faith in action because of the difficulties and challenges and suffering that they have endured as a direct result of you and your church community. I appeal to you. Show us community, show us compassion, show us support. And if your vision and activities strategy team needs some help with deciding what to do to help support us, I've got 3 very concrete ideas that I can share, and many more as well on top of that. But here's 3 for starters. I would love to see the Rapid Relief Team provide their care kits or food boxes for the first 6 months for anybody who has left your church community and who is in need of it. I would also like to see 24 sessions of counselling paid for and provided for any former member from your church community who, again, needs it. And lastly, here at Olive Leaf Network, we have a weekend retreat coming up later on this year. This weekend will be aimed to empower and educate and equip former members of high control groups as they set about trying to rebuild their lives after experiencing extreme shunning and excommunication. I would love to appeal to the Rapid Relief Team to provide sponsorship for any former member of the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church who wishes to attend. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Let's see your faith put into tangible action with former members of your church.
Hello, I'm Jackie. There are many Rapid Relief Team posts that upset me due to their complete hypocrisy. However, one that stands out was a post made one Christmas time promoting that the Rapid Relief Team bring families together. This was in relation to the food boxes that the Rapid Relief Team give out. So why did this post cut to my heart so much? Well, firstly, Christmas is considered a time to spend with family, and yet the PBCC do not celebrate Christmas and therefore do not place emphasis on spending time with family during the festive season, even among their own community. Secondly, the PBCC do anything but bring families together. My own family has been divided for over 40 years due to the doctrine of separation the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church practice. With my parents, who are out of the Brethren, now being in their late 80s, it saddens me that I have a sibling who feels unable to care for them or help them in any way. I do not blame my sibling. It is the ingrained culture of separation in the Brethren that dictates their members should not have a relationship with family outside of their community. So please, until this culture changes, do not claim your charitable arm brings families together at Christmas. Lastly, claims of bringing families together are hurtful when I think of our friend Anne Bennett. Anne has been diagnosed with incurable breast cancer and is currently in hospital awaiting a major operation prior to cancer treatment. Anne has 5 children in the Brethren and several grandchildren she has never seen or met. She has been allowed one video call with 2 of her sons, but not one of her children have been to see her. Anne would do anything to be able to hug her children while she's still able to do so. I do not say this to portray her children in a negative way at all. I am certain they love their mum. But the system that controls them makes them fearful to behave in a way a child would want to when they find out their mum has incurable bone cancer. The Plymouth Brethren Christian Church claim it's up to each individual member to decide the level of relationship they have with family who have left the community. So, to those brethren in the Brethren who would love to hug their family members again, you can. The doctrines of the PBCC should not stop you. It is your decision. If your faith is strong enough, hugging your family and showing care and compassion towards them will not shake that faith. To the leaders of the Rapid Relief Team and the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church, I'll say this. It is in your power to tell members they can behave with care and compassion towards family members who have left the community. Please, please do so. And then for Christmas 2025, maybe the Rapid Relief Team can claim with no hypocrisy that they really do bring families together for Christmas. I know this would be the best Christmas present ever for our friend Anne, and this action by the leaders would demonstrate real care and compassion.
How can you support Get a Life podcast? You can donate internationally via PayPal at www.paypal.me/getalifepodcast. Or you can scan the QR code on your screen that takes you to our GoFundMe. Every donation helps keep this project alive. If you are in a high-demand religious group and need help, please go to oliveleaf.network. To share your story or be a guest on the show, email info.getalife@proton.me. You can find all our Get a Life merchandise on our website at www.getalife.net. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to Get a Life, and comment.